My name is Emma Maggs and this is Wildfemmes. Since starting this series where I explore how women stay wild in today's society, finding out how they balance all the different versions of themselves from work to play to love and beyond, I have become like a giant sea sponge with everything I am learning, and I'm not mad about it. Especially not in days when I can have the incredibly glorious Jana Hocking in my studio. She is a dating columnist and a self-professed collector of suitors who has worked in TV and radio for many years, which is actually how I came into her orbit. We were working on Channel 10's The Living Room as baby producers many moons ago, and I knew then that Jana's trajectory and her professional future would not be linear or traditional in any way, and I loved that for her. So Jana, thank you so much for joining Wildfemmes.
That's so nice. Thank you for having me.
No, it's so nice to always see you in person. So at the start of every week on a Monday or Tuesday, one of my favourite things to do is to put Goldie to bed at 7 o'clock and then go straight to my phone and flip open to your page on Insta and go to your stories for the weekly Saucy Secrets.
Yes.
Now, can you just explain for people who don't know what that is? What is Saucy Secrets?
So Saucy Secrets is, I don't even know how it started. I think I was just always bored on a Monday night. I've got a bit of ADHD, so I can't just sit and watch TV, or I can't just chill. I need to know that I'm doing something fun, or I'm always chasing that adrenaline. And so one day I was just like, I want people to tell me their saucy secrets. I mean, they're telling them to me in my DMs anyway. And when I put out an article, I get so many people sending me stories about, their stories about something I've covered. And I was like, well, why don't we turn this into a fun thing? So I was like, all right, tell me your saucy secrets and I will share them anonymously. And I got so many, and they were so fun.
They're so outrageous.
They're full on.
They actually at times make me feel like a massive prude because I'm like, oh gosh, hectic. Okay, I've got a couple I want to read. I hooked up with Olivia from Maths, even though I hated her on the show purely so I could ghost her after. No empathy. I circumcised myself. This one, bit weird. This one time my dog licked my balls when having sex and I liked it, so I didn't tell him to stop. And it's like people are just shedding the weight of the secrets they're keeping. Like, what do you do with all the secrets?
The one thing that's really come out of it, and I turned it into a column, was like, everyone's having affairs. Everyone is having affairs, and it's not just the people that, the fuckboy or that charming boss at work who, is having it off with the secretary. It's the nice people. It's teachers. It's nurses. There are so many affairs going on. And the other thing is, when you have a secret, you're desperate to tell someone. And when it's something like an affair, you can't. So I've learned from this whole Saucy Secret experience is that people can tell me that,
anything.
Anything.
With no judgment.
With no judgment, ever.
Do you ever have a dialogue with them?
Okay, so I discovered that I get more secrets if I don't, because you can put up the textbook, which is like the question box on your Instagram saying, tell me your saucy secret. And then I can see who sent it. But when I share it, it doesn't come up with who sent it. And
so
I was
people like the anonymity of not going through that text box.
So what I did instead, so I found one of my other friends on her Instagram. She was like, ask me any questions, and she had found this special app. It promises that you'll stay anonymous on this app. So I put the link up on my Instagram stories, and then you click that link and it takes us both to a special app where they can share their story, but it doesn't say who it's from. So once I put that link up instead of the Instagram text box, I was getting way more interesting stories, and people felt more comfortable because they genuinely can't see who's just sending it.
Sending it off into the ether, being like, my work here is done.
And do you know what? I think they find it therapeutic because they've got to tell someone, and their secret is still safe. So
have you ever had anyone reach out and be like, I think that's my boyfriend or my partner or my...
No, but the one I put up yesterday about the guy who was, he shared with me, it has to be a guy. I'm like, I'm not sure if it's a guy. It's definitely a guy because he had been having an affair with his boss's wife, and he knows for a fact that the boss's wife's last 2 kids are his.
Oh, I've read that.
Yeah, it was full on. And
they call him uncle?
They call him uncle. And I think there was a lot of people, I got a lot of DMs going, oh my God, that gave me anxiety. And I thought, how many bosses are at the moment of reading this going, is that my employee? I've got 2 kids. I've got 3 kids. Yeah. And some of them, when they're really quite obvious, like I don't put them up because I think, oh, you're really outing yourself here. So
treading on fun, you know.
Yeah. There's a lot I can't put up. And there's some idiots who just put the most ridiculous things. And I'm just like, bullshit. That didn't happen.
What can you recall at the top of your head? Like
I put one up last night. It was so outlandish that I ended up putting like a question to my followers saying, what do you think? Is this true or bullshit? And like everyone was saying it was bullshit. I can't remember what it was. It was
really quick.
I remember he said that he went his girlfriend's 18th birthday party. She passed out, so he slept with her mum and her mum's sister. Yeah.
He sounds like a total douchebag.
Oh, massive douche. And I also call bullshit because why is he sleeping with his girlfriend's mum and her sister? Like creepy.
Super creepy.
But, you know, it could be true, but I do call bullshit.
Yeah, it does sound a bit tenuous. Now, I would be remiss of me not to ask you, how did you actually become a dating expert? Because it's quite the title. And you do have a lot of wisdom in this area. So how did you get here?
I'm certainly not an expert, and I really go out of my way to say that. Like I always laugh when like the New York Post calls me a dating guru. And I'm like I love guru. But I go out of my way to say I'm not an expert. I just share my hot mess stories and then my solutions for them, or the research I've done to figure out why I act like this. So I share my journeys and my lessons from it. So yeah, I'm not a therapist.
Which is really amazing because I'm sure everyone can relate to at least one of the experiences you talk about and might get something out of it. Is there a particular experience that you've shared recently that you got a lot of like talk back from?
Oh God, all of them. They all. If I don't get angry DMs, I'm actually disappointed because I'm like, oh, it's just a bland article. It's not. I haven't poked any bears. It's interesting. With my articles, because it's about dating and it's from a female's point of view, I find that a lot of angry men. So say a man's just been dumped, and then I write this article saying my thoughts and feelings, and he's looking, he can't tell that woman off, and he's angry at the world, and he's probably heartbroken. He sees me write about dating, he's straight in my DMs, and it's not really about me. He's just so angry at the situation he finds himself in, especially if he's been dumped.
A lot of projection.
It's a lot of projection. I get it a lot. And there's a lot of like divorced men who will send me really cranky messages, and I never take it personally. I get, there's this American YouTuber. He's this really angry male who hates women. And what's scary is he's got like 500,000 followers.
You're talking about Andrew Tate, are you?
No.
Oh.
He's this guy who's he sits in his basement and he's got a big American flag and a big shaved head, and he every article I do, he puts it up on his screen and then dissects it and tells me why I'm going to die alone with cats. And all these men who are also angry at women, they then jump on and they'll troll me and stuff. But I never mind because I'm like, oh, well, that's Instagram engagement. Thanks.
Always got to see the silver lining. I like that.
You just put my article in front of 500,000 people. Thank you so much. And it's weird because he's like, yeah, we're attacking her, but so many of his followers then follow me, and I'm like, thank you for the followers.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, but he goes hard and he goes personal. And the biggest one and the most surprising one for me was Childfree by choice. So I did an article and it went on news.com, New York Post, and New Zealand Herald. And it's so funny, I wrote it because I'll tell anyone I'm child-free by choice. I don't have a problem with it. It's not scandalous to me, but that article went wild, and I realized, wow, a lot of people do think that's scandalous.
Well, society puts a lot of traditional pressure on women. You know, you find the love of your life, you get engaged, you get married, you have your baby, you buy a house. Like, there's like the path, I guess you could say. So you were going against societal norms. Like, what are some of the reactions people say to you when you say that you don't want to have kids?
Well, what surprised me the most was that I wasn't getting people going, oh, you're so selfish. Oh, you're a narcissist. Kids are amazing, blah, 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 which I thought I would get because we're told that society's going to judge us because we don't want kids. But I got so many DMs and so many emails of people going, oh my God, me too. I was just too embarrassed to say it, or I felt bad saying it. But the amount of feedback I got that was more pro not having kids really shocked me. And I got a lot of parents emailing me going, I did it because that's what was expected and I really regret it. Ooh. And I was like, oh, I really feel for you.
Why do you think people don't want to have kids? Or like, what was the consensus? Like, did they give reasons for that?
Do you know what's so funny? Like, it's not like, I don't know if there's a proper answer for why they don't want kids. I think we're born with preferences. Like, I don't want to buy a house. I quite like renting. Are we going to judge me on that? Like, we're all born differently.
Some might.
Yeah.
There's always someone out there that's going to judge us for something, right?
Shout out to my stepdad. But no, I just find that I just think it's old school thinking. Like 48% of Americans right now under the age of 45 don't have kids. It's more normal than we think it is. That is a really big statistic.
It'd be really interesting to do that study in Australia and see where we're at.
Yeah.
With that, look at the census.
We're usually 5 years behind.
Yeah.
So we're probably close to that.
We're a beautiful little island.
Yeah, but I never had the maternity kick. Like, I never got clucky, and I waited for it to kick in. And I've certainly had people say to me, oh, you just haven't found the right person yet. When you find the right person, it will change. And it drives me insane. I'm like, I think I know myself better than you do. I know it's not coming. I wouldn't go on record so much saying I don't want kids unless I was 100.
Even if you changed your mind, I was just going to say, even if you change your mind, that's okay too, right? Like, if you were to ever be like, I think people like to hold you to things when it's unnecessary. What is your personal reason, for not wanting to have children?
My personal reason is because I just never was clucky. I never got that maternal instinct, and I certainly don't want to force it because society says you have to have kids. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to the future kids if I'm not completely invested. Like, I think to be a parent, you have to be all in. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it comes when you have your kids. And I 100% am sure that does happen, but why would you have a child if you're not sure? Like, I just think I've got so many grand plans, and for me, it's my life. I get to pick how I lead it. And so if you're
being consciously selfish,
right? If I choose to, I want to go on holidays, my career is really important to me. And everyone says, oh, your career doesn't tuck you in at night. No, but it helps me get up in the morning. Like, it gives me joy. Or what do they say? It sparks joy. So what's wrong with that? I love my friends. I've got great family. I've got a great nephew. That's enough for me.
But how nice is that to know that? Like, a lot of people will spend a lot of time searching for their purpose in inverted hand commas, purpose, and what brings them joy. Like, it.
Yeah.
And that's like a really grounded certainty that a lot of people don't have access to. So
I think that comes from writing as well, because I'm always writing these columns that I always have to think about where I'm at, and I'm always assessing myself.
Like subconscious journaling?
Totally. I've started writing articles and I've finished and gone, oh, that's how I think about it.
Like, did you start it with Dear Diary? I mean,
never. Never. Although my mum always says, do your articles have to be such diaries? And I'm like, I can't help it. I've always been an open book. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, that does bring me on to my next question. I would love to know what your family think about you being so open about your exploits and your experiences and your journey.
So my brother's blocked me on Instagram. Just one of them. We laugh about it, but he hates my Saucy Secrets on Mondays because he's like, they're so full on and you're putting saucy pictures with it, and I don't want to hear my sister talking about that. And I think fair call, because I don't want to hear you talking about it either. But they're pretty good. Like, I've gone on the various radio shows I've worked on and told stories. I've been papped with naughty boys. My parents are just so used to it now. Nothing really phases them. I just try not to share their stories too much because that's...
Poke those bears too much.
Exactly. Exactly.
I did want to ask you, you know, you're sitting across from me now and you are fun, confident, incredibly successful, and you exude positivity, and it is a breath of fresh air to be around. But I wanted to know, what was Jana like as a baby Jana? Like when you were growing up, have you always been this way?
I've always been loud. Looking back, I definitely always had ADHD. I find it, and that's why writing's good for me because it forces me to focus. So I'm not like ting, 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 running around everywhere. My attention span isn't great. But writing just kind of zens me. But what was I like as a kid? I was always loud. I'm a Leo, so I'm quite...
Were you a babe back then as well?
No. Oh my God. In high school, they used to, no, one boy, and it always stuck with me. You know how they say you always remember the mean thing someone says as opposed to the nice things? And I just remember a boy calling me Sharky because I have a 5-finger forehead. And so he called me Shark. And that really traumatized me.
I have never heard that before. That's very inventive of him. That has obviously left a mark. Can I ask you, do you have any insecurities today?
Deeply insecure. My face is a big one.
Why?
I'm so glad Instagram wasn't around when I was a teenager. I'm still now I have days, and you know, you flick through Instagram and everyone's gorgeous and you're just like...
Yeah, comparison artist sets in a little bit.
Seriously, and I have to pull myself up on it all the time. Like even now, like when I walked in today and realized it was being filmed, I get dread because I'm not in control, and I know my angles. Time. I know it's still. I don't know how it goes away, but
I like how you mentioned you're not in control because you know your angles. I get in similar situations.
Really?
Yeah. Like I've never thought of myself as like just holistically beautiful, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a bad thing to say, but like I just know that in certain positions and ways I can feel better about the situation.
Me too.
I definitely relate on that. So what would be your top 3 insecurities today, do you think?
I never like to point them out because then I think people focus on them.
That's fair.
So that's the first one probably.
That's fair. I do understand
probably
that.
The first one is, yeah, but definitely my face. You know, I've done the Botox, I've done the filler. There are days where I think, oh, I look okay. And then days where I'll see myself with all my girlfriends and be like, I am the ugliest one in that group.
Oh my gosh, I know your girlfriends.
They're gorgeous.
They are very gorgeous. When you're having a day where some of your insecurities are creeping up on you, what are your coping mechanisms to work through them?
I love therapy. Big fan of therapy. I am, in terms of dating styles, I'm really anxious avoidant. So I really kind of reared its head last year when I was dating a guy. I was kind of dating 2 guys and I just found myself really backing off even though I know I like them, and I'm really bad at telling. Like one guy I've been dating on and off for years, it took me 4 years to even acknowledge that I liked him.
Wow.
Yeah, and therapy has been really good for that and expressing my thoughts and feelings, which even now I can't even say that properly. Like I can write them down, I can put them in an article, and one boy was like, I didn't even know you felt like me about me like that until I read it in your article.
No way.
I can't share thoughts and feelings in real life. So
well, it can be really hard, and it does take like a level of self-awareness to understand like your
totally.
triggers and all those different aspects.
Yeah.
What has been like one of the biggest dating experiences you've had that probably left the biggest impact on you?
When I was 16 till 20, I went out with this really sweet guy. Like he was just nice and lovely. And sadly, by the time I got to uni, and it was so exciting, and there were new boys. Like I'd only ever had one boyfriend. I'd only slept with one guy. And then I'm at uni, which is in this it's in Bathurst, so a country town. And everyone's away from home, so we're all living in dorms. I was just like, catch you later. I want to be single. So I was single for a year and had the best time ever. And then I met a guy who was really naughty. So he was the opposite to my first ex. And I ended up going out with him for 5 years. And it was
Wow.
the most toxic, passionate, crazy relationship ever. He went to jail twice during that. Like, when I say naughty, I mean like naughty.
Actual naughty,
yeah. And our personalities were both fiery. And then getting out of that properly was really hard.
Well, can I ask what kept you in it?
We just had so much love for each other. But
Even though you knew it was toxic?
Oh, completely. Completely. Yep. And we always got back together. We'd always have these big bust ups and then we'd get back together. And my family didn't like him.
Oh, and that's so hard, isn't it?
Which is probably a turn on. So then that took therapy as well to properly get out of it. I knew I needed to get out of that relationship because it wasn't good for either of us. I just didn't know how, because it's so annoying. Even when you know a guy's bad for you, it doesn't instantly shut off the love. No. So that took some expert help to remove myself from that situation.
From your experience of going to therapy, like what has been some of your biggest takeaways from it?
It always surprises me.
Wow.
Get yourself, you're not going to find the right therapist straight away. Like, I need action points and I need homework. And I just found this girl last year who's, maybe the year before. I don't know. She's brilliant. And I remember you have this meeting before you go to therapy and they're like, what are you looking for? And it was
I did not know that. That's really cool.
A good therapy place will.
So it's like an interview.
Yeah, they just say we want to give you the right therapist. So what are you looking for? Who do you best respond to? And I said, suffers no fools, takes no bullshit, will call me out on anything, and is quite strong. I wanted a female and like a strong female. And they said, okay. And this tiny girl came out. She was, not girl, she's like in her 30s, but she was like 5'2", French, and she looks really sweet.
And were you like, this woman is not going to be able to put up with my nonsense?
My first thought was, oh God, I'm going to eat you alive. And then in our second session, she dropped the C word. She goes, Jana, I can't do the accent, but she was like, he sounds like a real C word. And I instantly fell in love with her. I was like, oh good, you suffer no fools.
She says it how it is.
She was perfect. Yeah. I'd come in thinking I was the world's worst person. And I'd be like, I've messed up again. And I did this and I did that. And she just taught me to like unpack it. No, you're not the worst person in the world. And she kind of made me rearrange my thinking, and she was like, well, why do you think that's wrong? Is it wrong? Does it make you happy? Why would you change that? One thing I would tell people with therapy is you're not going to walk out of your session and be like, fixed. Over the next week, you'll unpack it and you'll have all these Oprah aha moments and little things that they said to you, you'll start resonating with. And yeah, I reckon with therapy, it takes you listen to it, and then it probably takes a week for it to really sink in.
Well, it's a little bit like a genie bottle, isn't it? Like all the mud on the bottom is getting mixed up, and then you spend the next few days processing, and you cry and you laugh, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm okay, I'm not okay, I'm okay.
Yes. And you'll go in and you're like, I'm not going to cry this session, and then you'll be crying. But she said the best thing to me, because I thought I'll go for a month, sort this one tiny little drama
nip it in the bud.
Yeah. And then it'll be done. And she said, no, by probably the 6th session, we'll tap into something that you didn't even know was there. And she calls it Pandora's box. And I was like, absolutely not. It's just this one thing that's annoying me. We'll get it done in a month.
I know myself.
Yeah. I've got this. And within 6 weeks, I was bawling my eyes out, and we had really got to the heart of the problem, which had been just kind of under the surface.
I did want to ask you, obviously the series is exploring about how women stay wild today. Like, what are the things that are stressing you out today?
Societal norms annoy me because I think, we were brought up being told you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to have a mortgage. And for so long, I felt guilty not following that path. And probably in the last year, I've learned to give myself a break and also be totally happy not going down that. And I just think, are we still thinking like that? And I always question. I'm always like, well, are you stuck in a horrible marriage and you're angry? Because why are you why are you so offended by my lifestyle?
And why should it offend anyone, our life choices?
Right.
As well, like, it doesn't mean we can't hang out.
Yeah, exactly. All my friends like yourself are all fabulous and living your lives, and I'm super supportive of everyone else's life.
100% the way it should be.
Yeah. So I don't like the pressure that people feel having to follow a path that doesn't suit them. So that's probably what's
I
annoying
actually
me at the moment.
really resonate with you. I was chatting today with a friend at work because obviously, you know, Goldie, my baby, she's my first child. Literally since the day I had her, people have been asking me if I'm going to have a second one, right?
So annoying.
And if I'm being completely honest, I found the first year of motherhood incredibly hard. That transition, probably much similar to you. I've always been very goal and career driven, and having everything stop dead to become a mum was really hard.
Yeah.
Right? And I think about every day, like, yeah, maybe I want a second child. Yeah, like, yeah, I want one. And then I'll like see a woman walking down the street with a small baby on the front and a bigger baby on the back, and I nearly gag and I think, oh yeah, no, maybe I don't want that. Like, I literally, and I'm having to sit with this and think, is it societal norms that is being put on me that makes me think I need the 2 kids and a mortgage, or do I genuinely want to grow my family? And this is something that I still haven't gotten to the bottom of. So I totally resonate with you feeling like that. Like, and I can only imagine how much worse it is now, like, as we get older, people putting those on you.
Oh, it's wild. So many people are worried about my fertility clock. Like, let me worry about it.
I'm a big girl.
Yeah, I've got this. But I really feel for those women that do. Like, I'm 38 and I'm seeing a lot of my friends now
starting to worry about it. Yeah.
Freak out about their fertility and stuff. And I think when people are asking you know, well, when are you having your second? It's like, we don't know where your head or your mind is, and maybe
or where my body's at.
Right.
I may not be able to have another one.
Right. I think it's such a rude question. In saying that, maybe I would have done that back in the day until I found out that, oh, that is actually a rude question.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just got to chill. Worry about your own lives.
Also, I think, like, you come from a farm as well. Like, my parents have never rented.
Yeah.
And so for them, it's
wild.
You're throwing money away. You're throwing it away. And I'm like, I'm living where I want to live in this gorgeous paradise. Like, and I'm happy to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I totally get that as well. Okay, so we come to the end, and I've got a couple of really fast questions for you that I don't want you to think too deeply about. Tips for anyone in the dating pool looking for a relationship today?
Join groups, ask your friends. I'm not massive on the dating apps at the moment. I think they've got a long way to go before they're actually safe.
Ooh, what would you like? What's your thoughts on that?
I think I'm sick of turning on the news and seeing another woman has died at the hands of a guy she met on a dating app who's got like 5 AVOs out on him. I think, 1, people in the dating apps have to be verified. And I think 2,
maybe police checked.
That was my second one. Police checked. I think we shouldn't be hearing about all these guys with serious domestic violence, you know, criminal records.
Getting access to pools of women.
And vulnerable women. And especially if you're on dating sites, you're looking for love, or you're looking for relationships, or some people are looking for sex. But most people, I think, are looking for relationships. And
we're putting date anyways.
And we're putting these vulnerable people in front of some potentially bad eggs. So I think
really good point.
Criminal checks, and you have to be verified. But the dating apps aren't there yet. So for me personally, I wouldn't be jumping on them. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people have married people they met. Like, there's some great experiences on there. But I did do an article recently where I asked all my girlfriends, I was like, all right, we've all been on dating app dates. How many of you have left a date feeling really uneasy or a little bit scared, or there's been some serious red flags? And every single person had a scary experience. And I thought, I don't like that.
Isn't that scary?
Yeah. So
That's
yes,
horrible.
There's amazing people, and for God, millions of people, it's definitely worked. But for me, I like referrals through friends. Go out, put yourself in society. You know, there's that joke where it's like, you want to just stay in bed and them come to you. Like, you don't want to go out. You don't want to go to bars. You don't want to. There's a really cool, like, I've just joined a hiking group because I was sick of waking up on Sundays with hangovers. I was like, well, if I've got something fun to do on Sunday, I'm not going to go completely wild on a Saturday night. So join groups, and remember that they're not going to come to your house. You have to get out in society.
Those are some really quality tips there. Now, do you utilize any boo-woo practices in your day-to-day? And just in case you don't know what that is, it's what I'm calling business woo-woo. So a lot of people I've interviewed incorporate like let's call it their magic or woo-woo into their daily practices to help them thrive in business and personal life. Do you have anything like that?
I
feel like maybe writing is your...
Yeah, I find it super therapeutic. Like the amount of times I'm like, okay, this is the topic I'm going to write my article about. And I think I'm going in one direction. And by the time I've put, 700 words together, I'm like, whoa, that went in a completely different direction. I feel better about it. And it's like it tapped into my subconscious and brought out how I really feel. So yeah, writing is
journaling.
Really
okay, so I feel like you need to bring out your own journal. I think that can be your next thing you work on. What is one book you recommend all single ladies or men should read?
Dolly Alderton's What I Know About Love. It was the best.
I've heard that's amazing.
It's a book of essays. So it's kind of the same as me. She started this book and she was like, all right, I'm going to write about all my love affairs in my 20s and all the lessons I learned from dating in my 20s. And she started writing it and it all kept coming back to friendships and how her friends kept her sane throughout the dating experience, right? And so by the end of the book, it's like this emotional journey, and she goes deep into the nitty gritty of dating.
Like a modern day Sex in the City, isn't it?
Totally, yeah. And in the end, she's like, this book didn't mean to be a journey of friendship, but it's turned out that way because for all the heartbreak, she had her flatmate holding her hand or her best friend handing her tissues, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book.
Number one lesson, have good quality people around you.
Yes.
Now, my last question for you, Jana, is how do you stay wild at home, in life, love, and work?
Tequila. No, just joking.
Very well.
I just think be as open and transparent as you can. I learned this from my best friend who used to be my boss. And it was the best lesson. She said, when someone comes into work and they're a bit quiet or they're kind of giving off this angry vibe and we all take it personally. And straight away I think, oh my God, what have I done? Did I say something wrong? Did I mess something up? And I think she learned this from a therapist, but it's the best. She goes, just state what's happened and people will just say, I'm being quiet today because I had a really shit sleep, or I got into a fight with my husband last night. So I'm here and I'm working. I just need to zen out.
But I'm processing.
And I'm processing. So I think if we're all open and honest, it stops, so much miscommunication.
The mastery of reactions.
Yeah, the mastery of reactions.
Drew Barrymore, thank you. That's a really good one, Jana.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah,
it's
I like
amazing.
that.
Well, thank you so, so much. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Wildfemmes. If you're new, welcome. If you've listened to every episode thus far, I appreciate your time and I hope that your cup is getting filled. Make sure you subscribe and review, as I'd love to hear from you. Until next week, stay wild.